And this is the basic syntax, and we have covered what is document class, and the previous lectures were on the packages and the different types of packages and how to install them and how to download them and so on. And this is the next step, which is the begin document and end document, which is nothing but the body of the LaTeX. So it's a very important thing. So this is the heart of LaTeX. So far is all the letter command, so that doesn't get printed, and whatever we type set in within begin documents and end documents gets printed. So to enhance that, like we have something called environment. So environment or the special commands that is used to uh, bring up the special entities like tables, figures, graphs, and so on. If you're from mathematics background, then you'll be looking into theorems and lemma, then proofs, then remarks, and so on. So corollaries and so many things are there in environment. So without a further ado, let's dive in environment. So this is sample environments I have. The first is the figure environment. So figure environment, the typical syntax will be slash begin figure, and the placements in the sense like where do you want to put it exactly. So you want to put it on the top, so the top of the page or the bottom of the page, the left, the right, the center, and exactly at a point of incident. Like for example, if you have multiple paragraphs, you wanted to put a figure on the before the third paragraph, then you have to put exactly that point of time. So it requires a package called float. So we'll be looking at that little later of time in the course of the lectures, and this time like we have something called placement. So we'll be replacing with the command, like for example H stands for here, and capital H stands for that point of time, and T stands for top, and B stands for bottom, and so on. And this is where we incorporate the figure. Generally figures are inserted using the slash include figure, and with the option of the scale or the height or width of the figure, and followed by the figure. And after that we have got captions have got the titles like figure caption and so on. Then it's very important like equations. I just believe LaTeX is more useful for document that has got a lot of equations. As Donald Nutt says, like it's mainly useful for documents that have got a lot of images and equations. And this is the very important thing. So I've got begin equations and end equations, and where in which we incorporate the formula. The next is the theorem. It's also a mathematical requirement. Like for example, if somebody is writing a book or documents on that includes theorem, then will be in handy. Like begin theorem. So whatever you put in, that will give us a format of a theorem, which they don't have to require any extra effort to make it as a theorem. So, for example, theorem 1.0, Pythagoras theorem, or Newton's law, or something like that. So, probably can be put in that particular environment, and you can develop that. Okay, so we'll take a quick look of some of the environment or the examples of the environment, like which you can use it for a document. The first being the mathematical formula or mathematical equations, whatever might be. So as usual, the document class and we use for this is in the article class, article.cls, and the packages we're going to use is AMS Math, AMS Font, and AMS Symbol. So this is usually required for text or the content that requires mathematical formula or mathematical fonts and mathematical symbols. And the next is the begin document, is the body of this LaTeX, and end document. And in between the stuff is called the body of the LaTeX document, and begin equation and end equation is the environment. So this is an equation environment. So bar x is nothing but slash bar within bracket x nothing but will bring down or will print it out as a x bar. So in case this is the output of this particular equation, equals to d fraction is the fraction, like it's an open bracket and close bracket here. Whatever the content that be there is the numerator, and the open bracket and close bracket beneath that is the denominator. So caution should be taken care, like when you have content that also have got open and close brackets. So next time when you type set in equation, so you should really pay much attention to this, because if any one of this is not closed, and this is can throw a lot of errors. So that is regarding the equation. Don't worry, so we'll spend a lot of time on the equations in the subsequent lectures, but as of now just understand this an equation environment, and it has a label, so equation 1. So this is very much essential when you have lot of equations. You can give it as different naming for this labels for this particular equation. For this, in this case, I've just got only one equation, so I just made it as eq1. Or this is not a standardized procedure. You can give anything. You can even give 1 2 3, or you can give a b c d, or whatever content or whatever the text you want to give, but it should be unique for different equations. So that's some basic logic. Then I've got this equation 1, and in this case it's a text, like this is an arithmetic mean. So x bar, this is an inline inline mathematical text, so which we have to give it between the dollar symbols. And as I said, like arithmetic mean comma inline equation, not equation, inline mathematical stuff is given by the equation. This is the tilde, which gives us a small space between the equation and this particular one. So this refers a cross reference when which this label gets mapped here. So for example, if I give 1, it have to give 1 here within the bracket of reference, which means that it's nothing but if you see it in an output, like it's just the same thing, arithmetic mean comma, this is the inline mathematical text like called x bar is given by equation 1. So this is a clickable. So if you have a multiple equations in a document, you can navigate to that based on that particular, if you cross refer that corresponding in that text. Begin equation and end equation is the environment, so it doesn't get printed. You see that slash stuff doesn't get printed, it only print by this way. One of the advantage of LaTeX is that these equations are numbered automatically. So there are different ways you can change this number, or you can modify this kind of format, but in most of the cases, the environments, or I mean the equation environments are numbered. You can still provide an equation without the number, so we'll see that that sort of things in the later on lectures. But as of now, default equations will give us the equation number. So if you, what happens if you have multiple equations and you put it in a sequence, and if you delete one in between? So LaTeX is very powerful that if you delete an equation that is comes in a series, then the previous and the next equation will be even after you delete, you compile it, you will not have an error stating that the numbers gets automatically updated. So that's one of the important advantage of having the automated equation numbering. And the next is the bottom one, like after begin equation and equation, let's say where slash q is the left code, and text it is the one that makes the text italics, and slash rq is the right code. And I'll tell you what is this slash little later on, maybe in the first document which we compile in LaTeX. So as of now, just this is just the one that makes a space between these the quotation and the next text. Then n is the number of terms, and that's it. So begin equation, end equation, and also that should be within begin document and end document. So if you provide an equation, begin equation, end equation in the preamble or outside the end document, it will throw us an error. So it is not a proper way of doing it. So caution should be taken care that begin equation and end equation is is an environment that should be within the begin documents and end documents. Let's take another example. This is a picture example, or picture environment or figure environment. So you remember, like in the packages, like when we discuss on the package, we've talked enough on graphics package. So that is mandatory for incorporating a picture, but the procedure is the same. I've just made an include graphics with the height and the width, and the photo is the name of the file. But in addition to that, I made it like begin figure, the placement H means here at the document. Then caption is the caption that is like beneath the photo, which we type in. If you write the scientific papers, then all the figures should be captioned. And the labels, I've just given it as figure 1. So I don't have any text to call this label, but this is very important. And begin figure and end figure the environment by within which the figures or the photographs are placed in. One important thing, if you note it around, like this figure 1 is figure 1.1 point is an automated text. So which means that if I have a multiple figures in my document, that figure numbers gets automatically updated. Like in the equation, when you delete an equation in between, then it gets auto numbered. Same way figures also, when you have multiple figures, multiple figure environment, if you happen to delete any one of it, like either a beginning or an end or in the middle, the rest of the documents, when you compile it after deleting, will gets automatically updated. So that's an advantage of LaTeX being used. The next is called example 3. It's tables. In fact, we'll be spending a lot of times on a lot of lectures on creating different types of tables. But as of now, this is a simple table which has got 3 rows and 3 columns, totally 9 cells, and the environment is begin table and end table. And within that, we have another environment called begin table, or something like the one with the C stands for center and H line stands for the horizontal line. For example, all these things are aligned center. That's why 1, 2, 3 columns, and this word represents the border lines, and H line represents the horizontal lines, and ampersand is the space. What do you call it? Is a separator um, from one cell to another cell. So very important. If you happen to incorporate ampersand as a character, then you should provide slash ampersand. So we'll be seeing that in a special cases in LaTeX. So we'll have a separate lecture for describing the special characters or the special commands that you cannot use it as a regular text. Say for example, hash and other elements, you cannot dollars, you cannot dollar symbols, you cannot use like a regular text, but instead you have to use it like a slash. That particular element slash hash will bring us the print as the hash, and the slash dollar will print as the dollar. So that's it. And this has got begin tabular and end tabular, and has got a captions as well. And we'll be seeing all those things in little detail, like for example how to develop a tables, equations. We'll be discussing a series of lectures on only describing about the tables, the different types of tables. There is something called rotating tables, or the sideways tables, or slanted tables, and the tables with have multiple rows and columns gets merged together. So all these things takes a little time and practice, but as of now, this is an example on the tabular environment. I hope you enjoy this lecture. So in case you have any doubts or queries regarding this, you can write it to me. So this is the end of the lecture, and have a great day. See you next time.